Welcome to Athens City Council. This evening we will be meeting in council committees. The meeting will be called to order by the City Council President, who will then pass discussion over to a respective committee. The chair of the committee will introduce the discussion topics and provide an overview of the issues at hand. If needed, members of the administration will offer brief statements to provide further context. We will then welcome input from the community. Any citizens who wish to speak will be asked to state their name and address, both verbally and on the sign and sheet located at the podium. Individuals will be given one opportunity to share their thoughts, and the committee chair will have the authority to limit each speaker to 3 minutes. Once all citizens have had the opportunity to speak within the 15-minute time period allotted for total public participation on each topic, the public comment portion will be closed. Council committee members will then continue their deliberations. There may be additional questions directed to the administration during this time. When the discussion on the topic concludes, the chair will indicate whether legislation will be introduced at the next regular session of council and move on to the next item on the agenda or adjourn the committee if their work is complete. The next committee chair will then call their committee to order, proceeding in the same manner as before. Once all committees have adjourned, City Council will conclude for the evening.
Good evening. I'm Micah McCary, Acting Pro Tem President for this evening's City Council Committee's meeting, and I call to order our October 14th, 2025 committee meetings at this time. Our sessions are typically conducted on Monday nights, but we're meeting on Tuesday because yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day. So with that in mind, I'd like to present this brief land acknowledgement. This land is the land on which the city of Athens resides was settled and developed by earlier people, particularly the Shawnee, the Osage, and those identified through cultures commonly known as the Adena, Hopewell, and Fort Ancient. This acknowledgement reminds us of the importance of honoring our history, people, and the planet as we work to improve our community's legacy. And in that spirit, tonight's agenda does indeed include some commitments to that point, whether it's finding and supporting affordable housing or keeping our citizens cool in the community center. We will have some relevant topics from City and Safety Services. And with that, I will turn things over to Acting City and Safety Services Chair, Jessica Thomas.
Thank you. We have a couple items on the agenda tonight.
Oh, yes, and I do need to acknowledge that the other members of this committee present this evening are myself and member Alan Swank, and other members of council will step away from the dais at this time.
We're a little off on our week. We have a couple items on the agenda today for City and Safety Services. The first is going to be Athens Municipal Arts Commission and some changes that they have voted on and are suggesting for their bylaws. The brief overview is just changing the number of where required members live. Currently, the commission requires 4 to live in the city and 3 may live outside the corporation limits, but within Athens Township. And they are proposing that we flop that around a little bit, and it would be 3 must live in the city and 4 may reside outside the corporation limits, but within the township. And with that, pretty simple, straightforward. Kelly Reesbeck, who is the past chair of AMAC, is here to speak and answer any questions on why they came to this and what they're looking for.
Go up there.
Yeah.
And I'm joined by David Talega. He is the interim chair
Yes.
of AMAC.
Welcome. Thank you.
So thanks for putting this on your agenda. We're happy to be here today. We are almost full with our commission, but we have one seat that refuses to be sat by somebody. We have tried through, we don't have a budget, as you guys know. We've tried through different channels to get people interested in serving on AMAC. We have, I believe, 7 seats, and we lack 1. We have people that have come forward and were interested, but because they lived in the township, this was not a seat that was open to them, because it had to be a city person that lived in the city, and, you know, city proper. So I think it's fair to ask, you know, why now? Why are you asking for this change now? AMAC's been around for, I think we're going on 25 years now, I think, when Bob Winters and Carol Patterson established it back then. And I have not done any scientific surveying or research, but my sense is that there are fewer people who live in the city of Athens who feel as though they have capacity to serve in a civic way in and through the arts, as AMAC asks them to do. You don't have to be a professional artist to be on AMAC. You just have to, you know, enjoy and like the arts. And AMAC's mission is to make the arts visible in Athens. So we don't try to do, you know, giant, huge deal projects. We just try to make, you know, everybody's like, oh yeah, it's an arts town. Like, oh really? Show me. And so we try to be the show me part of that. So we think that maybe there has been a different way of feeling like you can contribute as, you know, young adults, young families. They have kids in activities. You know, maybe their work is very consuming, and maybe they have elderly parents. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It just, we know that we put the word out through the city's Facebook page, their Instagram, press releases, and the city communications team has been very helpful and very accommodating to every time we wanted to post it. But we just don't, we don't get any, and we share it on our socials, we just don't get anybody coming forward to want to serve. And, you know, that's fine. We think that if there is a way to switch those numbers, it will allow at least one more person who doesn't live in the city proper to serve. And as I made a note before at our AMAC meetings, there could be all 7 members city residents. That's fine. There could be, if this change is passed, there could be 4 that live in the township, 3 live in the city. There will never be 7 of AMAC commissioners that live in the township. That just won't work. I think that's wide of the spirit in which the Athens Municipal Arts Commission was founded. So we acknowledge that, and we're not seeking to make that kind of a drastic change. We just want to have you know, more opportunities to invite more people in. For example, I live in Athens Township. My neighbor wanted to serve, and I said, she did all the applying and everything, she'd be perfect. And we're like, oh, sorry, you can't serve because you don't live in the city. So did you want to talk about our wanting to also be part of an alignment structure for all the commission's eligibility?
Sure. If
Yeah.
one of the concerns is alignment amongst boards and commissions, currently there are different residency requirements, so
Yeah.
that won't be a concern.
Yeah, I mean, like for the Athens Parks and Rec Commission, you just have to be an Athens County member to be eligible to serve. They may have more members that they seat. I know we seat 7. Maybe they have, I feel like they have more people there that they seat. Tree Commission, I don't know what the eligibility requirements are there. So we're also be happy to be part of a larger discussion to kind of streamline things, which I know from the bylaws perspective, there's been work among the commissioners to streamline our bylaws so they're sort of the same and not all unicorns in terms of what they do, which we're all about, you know, to make it easier for everybody. And, you know, again, the biggest reason we're doing this is for the future AMACs that are seated once we're long gone. It'll just be easier to have more people and more voices into the discussions about, you know, art stuff in Athens. That's pretty much it.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions or?
So
Oh, yes, right,
If
yeah.
the admin first,
Admin
and I
first.
think Director Stone maybe has some input.
Yeah, I will. I'll make a point, and I'll caveat this to say that this opinion is no way reflective of my own personal opinion as a resident of Doneville.
Okay, fair.
As a
Well, you
city
would be
employee,
eligible.
so I would not be eligible in any case to sit on the Municipal Arts Commission, and this body has passed an ordinance actually on my appointment to allow me to serve as the service safety director because of that out of city ordinance requirement. But that said, speaking on behalf of Mayor Patterson, who's not here this evening, his general leaning is towards people who live in the city serving on city boards and commissions. Having been at on the receiving end of very strong opinions from people who live outside the city, directing the city what to do. That's probably where some of that comes from. That said, I think that the past chair makes a very strong case, given that they've been searching for folks inside the city and simply haven't found someone willing to serve. So, the administration really doesn't have a strong opinion on this, other than we tend to lean towards, boards and commissions being from the city. But in this special case, it might be appropriate.
And if I can just add, a lot of the boards and commissions have student representatives.
Okay.
That's part of one of the slots. This is the most, I feel, it's the least complicated of many of the boards and commissions about how many members can serve, et cetera. And I'm wondering if, especially the arts community has reached out to the school theater or the fine arts department, or see if because often there are students who are very eager to join and have fresh ideas, and I don't know if that's maybe something to consider
Right.
if you're struggling to find people for the boards or commissions. And I don't know, and you bring up a great point about uniformity across. They're all very different. And I wasn't sure why that wasn't a part of this, but something to discuss maybe. Thank you, Member Thomas.
All right.
Yeah, I have not reached out. Well, I've been chair for a while. I've got 2 more years, and then my second 3-year term ends. To my knowledge, since I've been there, we have not actively reached out to students to serve. We want to have, to your point, we want to have certain students who are very civic-minded, and service students are very busy, and they are trying to build their careers and all that. We always want to make sure we have a quorum, especially if we have a vote. There's a lot of things, we manage and support and foster the Athens Poet Laureate every 2 years. We do the traffic wraps. We did our mural walk. We have at least 3 more mural walks we want to put up with Map Athens folks up at the Ridges, I think, is where they are. And so we do have a lot of work that we do. And we would want to make sure a student that was seated as an actual real member, voting member, would be very committed to coming to our once-a-month meetings. So I think that is possible, right? They're out there. But to your point, I wanted to be clear, I have not. I personally have never done that. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, most of my experiences with the Environment and Sustainability Commission, I'll just say we've had some wonderful
Oh, I bet you have, yeah.
engaged with that.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the community, public? People will come up and just add any comments or questions, and then if we have anything else for you, we'll ask you to step back up.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Beth Clodfelter, and I live on South Shannon Avenue. I'm just wondering if this could be kind of a temporary thing, saying up to 4 or up to 3 or whatever, just temporary. And as Sam Crowell mentioned, the students I am the current City Council representative on the city's Environment and Sustainability Commission, and we, I think, have 3 student members on our commission right now, and they're great, and they attend regularly. Or 2 do. I will say there's 1 who doesn't always, but 2 are there every month and make really good contributions and have different networks and contacts than the rest of us. And so sometimes working together, we can get more done because we have students on the commission. So, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Members of the committee. Member Spank?
Like Director Stone, I don't want to speak for the mayor either, but I feel rather strongly all boards and commissions should have a majority of their members be residents of the city of Athens, particularly when the recommendations may involve spending taxpayer dollars. I spoke with the mayor on Sunday before he left town, and one of the things that we discussed was, for the 15th time, is taking a look at all of our boards and commissions and possibly bringing them into alignment in terms of membership. I just looked at the Rec Advisory Board. 5 people have to live in the city, 2 can live outside the city.
That's different than what I
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, it's 5 and 2. Yeah, and I bet if I went down through theirs, we might have a 6 and a 1 or 4 and 3. And in our conversation on Sunday, comparing Athens to many municipalities around the state, we have more boards and commissions than anybody.
It's a good thing.
Well, yes and no, because I think we can bring some of these things together. So I would be very reluctant to do this for several reasons. Number one, have you tried any of the 3 neighborhood Facebook pages? I'm a member of all 3, and I haven't seen an announcement on any of those.
No, we don't have, so I would have to post it on my own personal thing because I don't know if the city goes into the Facebook page of the neighborhood.
No.
Facebook page. I don't think they do that kind of thing.
No.
So it would have to be a door knocking type situation via
Yeah.
Facebook Lens.
Yeah, but if you would, if you had something you'd like to publish, I'd be more than happy to post on all 3, which I'm a member of. Also, the Far East Side Neighborhood Association publishes a newsletter 4 times a year, delivered door to door to 365 homes, and it just went out this week. It'd be another great place to put it. Sounds like you have an immediate need, and I
We've
think.
been trying to fill the seat
Yeah.
for, gosh, a year.
Yeah, so I think maybe we try some of these things first, but I would be very reluctant to change city code. This isn't changing bylaws, this is changing city code.
No, I'm aware.
Everybody's using the term bylaws, and it's not bylaws, it's city code. Additionally, why just Athens Township?
Well, I think to the point that, so David and I talked about this quite a bit, and to the point that you made earlier about wanting people that are closer to the city of Athens. This is the Athens Municipal Arts Commission, so we really do want to honor the city of Athens in everything we do, right? So by making it more of a whole county thing, we thought maybe that would be too far afield of the spirit in which the AMAC was founded.
I could see maybe Athens Township, but I would certainly include Canaan Township.
I believe that Athens Township, there's parts of Athens Township that do leak into Canaan,
I
according
just need to
to.
pause for a moment and ask you to return to the podium. If there's going to be
Oh,
back
yeah.
and forth,
Yes.
we'll just need to make sure.
Yeah, if you draw a,
Sorry about that.
if you go to
Okay.
East State Street and draw a line due north and south, Athens
Yeah.
Township and Canaan Township goes right through the middle of Walmart.
Right, I understand. So I believe from what Andy Chicky said, he's the guy, the mayor's designee that comes to our meetings, he said there is part of Canaan Township, I recall, that would be eligible if this were to be passed,
Yeah.
to your point.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, because if you look at the map, those kids that are in the Federal Hocking School District come in, you see the Federal Hocking buses come all the way into Canaan Township there to
Right,
pick them
okay.
up. So, yeah, I was just curious as to why just Athens Township when, Canaan Township is much a part of this as other. But again, my feeling is I have a very difficult time having talked to some people who in Athens are very much involved in the arts, both with their presence at events and pocketbook of support, that feel fairly strongly that it should be a majority of citizens of Athens, particularly when recommendations come forward that might involve the expenditure of Athens city tax dollars.
sure. Maybe you can give me their names, and I can give them a call.
Okay.
See if they want to serve.
All right.
Truly.
Yeah.
I would
But if you
appreciate
would write something up, I'd be more than happy to post it to those 3 Facebook pages, and on the next FINA newsletter, get a blurb in there about that too, because again, it goes to 365 homes.
Sure, and I think that's a great last push, and I'm all about it. I'm exhausting all avenues. I think that's a good thing, and I'm just speaking me as Kelly, not all of AMAC, right? I don't represent everybody's voice there. And when I think about AMAC's coming forward 20 years from now, 30 years from now, we hope that AMAC's still active then. I still remain somebody who seeks it to make it easier for more people, for there to be a bigger bucket in which people can serve in terms of residency eligibility. So I'm not unconvinced of my conviction to change city code, but I think it's your approach to do some more pushing is going to be worth it. But to get what we need for right now, I still feel like having it make it easier for people to serve going forward and years forward is still worth an effort. So.
Pro Tem?
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you to AMAC for its many years of service. I just have a few questions.
Sure.
And the first is our liaison to AMAC, Jeff Reisner, is currently not here, but he's been present for your meetings
Yes.
and discussions on this topic. And I was wondering if you could just let us know if he's expressed any concerns or comments on this topic.
I think he's mostly welcoming of the idea. I think he makes some of the same points that Alan makes in terms of like he's interested in having a fuller conversation about the tax picture about the whole thing, which I don't fully understand, I'll totally admit. So I think he kind of leans towards that too. You know, these are, you know, Amaxers, taxpayers, and these are taxpayers, and, you know, we want them to have benefits like that. So similar to what you had said. I think that was the only thing that he said. But I think at the end of the day, he sees the benefit of having more voices around the table once a month. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think my next thought in general is that it's likely all of our boards and commissions could benefit from some reminder about resources that we can use to assist them in recruitment efforts, particularly as terms change and we have some boards and commissions that aren't all full. And given that this is a committee meeting and we don't have to move to the next legislative step next week necessarily, it seems to me that we have some time to get a little bit of more information about the tax implications and the comparative data on the ratio of in-city members of commissions to those outside of the city. And I'm thinking in that time, we might also be able to implement some of the recruitment strategies that Member Swank has suggested, including with some student outreach and some social media outreach, to see if by the time this would naturally come back to committee, AMAC still stands firm in its suggestion that we update our code to allow for this new membership structure, or if some things happened where suddenly we feel like we have a reasonable solution for the time being. And I'm curious about how other members of the committee feel about that.
I have just a couple thoughts or notice. I don't know if the government channel guys are really stretched today, but if Scott's able to put up, I emailed Ryan a picture of the township. for them, and they would go towards backup systems. If that's really all I have on that for right now. If anyone has any questions, or I guess first we'll go to city administration and nothing. Anyone in the public have any questions? All right, and to the committee.
Can we get Scott to come out, please?
He can come out. He did say that because he's running multiple meetings, he didn't really want to try and come up to the podium, but I can take questions to him, unless he's feeling really multitasking.
Could you give us a Cliff Notes version of what these things do, and that will lead to another question, or maybe not any more questions at all?
Sure. We are getting rid of our 3 oldest video switcher systems, like runs our meetings.
Okay. So they run the media. Reason I ask, Athens High School started a new program with broadcast journalism. Would this be something that might help them in that endeavor? And this is brand new. They're just starting.
Possibly. Be interesting to see how in-depth they want to go, how complex, but yeah.
Okay. So their curriculum director would be okay if got in touch with you about that?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right. Anyone else? All right. That is the end of city and safety services.
Thank you. Chair Jessica Thomas, could you just clarify for us which of the 2 items you anticipate moving toward legislation next week?
Well, definitely the disposal of equipment. And I guess if we want to wait on AMAC till the next committee meeting, we could do that. Give them some time and then bring that forward again. Is that the 20th? No.
27th.
27th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trick or treat.
There you go. Bring that back for committee again, see if they've had any acting mayor. I don't, with so many switch titles today, acting mayor, crap.
Member Reisner will be back, and it would probably be good to have his input on this as we move forward. So delay is probably a good idea.
Yeah, excellent point.
Thank you, City and Safety Services. That, as Member Thomas indicated, concludes that meeting, and now we will move on to Finance and Personnel Committee. That is chaired by Acting Chair Micah McCary and joined by members Beth Clodfelder and Michael Wood.
Everybody's switching places. Oh, here we go.
All right. Our first item on the City and Safety Services, the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting for this evening is the sale of 2 properties. Central Avenue and 458 Richland Avenue to the AMHA. The ordinances were originally combined as Ordinance 80-25, but as we've discussed previously, we've decided to make those 2 separate ordinances, which the law director has confirmed. The language complies with city code, and both sales advance our affordable housing goals by keeping the properties with AMHA's local portfolio. So with the Richland Avenue ordinance, Ordinance 25, the sale price would be $144,160. Proceeds directed as follows, and that's with revenue to the general fund appropriated in, those are details we don't need right now. Let's move on to the Central Avenue property. That's also a sale at fair market value. The exact figure is yet to be finalized. We would have that in the ordinance next week, and that too has been reviewed by the law director and is consistent with city code. So with that, I will invite the administration to share any comments or questions on this item.
Director Stone? Sure, thank you, McCary. So on the first one, the Richland Avenue parcel, important note with this is,
That was outside of the CDBG fund for purchase, so it was never acquired with CDBG funds, which is one of the reasons we had to split this in the first place after doing particular research. The intent, back to the original divestment, was to take proceeds and pass them along to the Athens Community Improvement Corporation in order to promote economic development in the city. In order to do that, for 025, the proceeds from that sale, the Richland Avenue property, we get appropriated or received into the general fund, appropriated into 101-120 transaction class 600, which is transfers and then transfer it to the ACIC Fund 906. And so that'll be that portion about the legislation when it comes forward that it will be in place. With regards to the CDBG fund that was used to purchase 25 Central, the proceeds from that sale, and it's supposed to be fair market value is what the law says on that, so we're going to have to discern what fair market value is for 25 Central, will be remitted or received into the 248 fund, which is the CDBG fund, and then we're going to have to take some other steps to be able to get access to that. Probably working with the agency in Columbus that administers CDBG funds specifically to release that. There's actually quite a bit of money in that fund, that 248 fund, that needs to get transferred out to other funds, but it can only do so under certain, very narrow, terms. And so the idea would be to get rid of the House, pass it along, get the funds into that fund, and then seek release of those so that we can transfer it to other funds at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Stone. I'll now move to open public comment from the public. If we have anyone here who'd like to speak, please approach the podium and share your name and address for the record.
Yes, Alan.
Sorry. Please go ahead.
Okay. Alan Swank, 40 Townsend Place over in Ward 4. Well, Director Stone there is what I've been lobbying for the whole time, and that is to sell these at fair market value. Obviously, the one we have to because of the CBG, I always get those letters mixed up, CBGB requirements. The other one, it looks like 144, 160 is going to be the sale price. Believe it or not, people pay attention to these meetings. Lots of people. In fact, today I went on the city's website and looked at the Facebook page where this is broadcast. And we average between 500 and 600 views for each and every one of these meetings. Some of them more than that. It's amazing that people pay attention. And one of the things that people are paying attention to, not only in Athens, but in Ohio right now, is money. You've been following what's going on in Columbus with the property taxes. Last year, we floated an income tax issue. And from what I understand from people, there are 3 reasons it failed. 1, people's property taxes are going through the roof and they weren't willing to pay any more in any kind of tax. Secondly, they didn't know where the money was going to go. And third, and maybe most importantly, they're paying attention to how we manage their money, their tax dollars. And people are paying attention to this, and we're probably going to have to float another put the income tax on the ballot next year, and they're going to pay attention again next year. And one of the things I'm afraid they're going to be concerned about is, are we selling these at the fair market price? So I'm glad to hear Director Stone on one we are. I called for an independent appraisal a month ago, and now it looks like we may be to that point. So I'm hoping that we can get what is truly fair market value, at least on one of these properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have additional comments from the public on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and move on to members of the committee. Any questions or comments about the sale of these properties? All right, seeing none, we will anticipate ordinances ready for first reading next week. We'll now move on to the second agenda item for finance and personnel this evening, and that's a couple of appropriations for our community centers HVAC, which is now 20 years old and in need of replacement. And I will invite I'll mention total cost is $70,000, and I'll invite the administration to offer any further commentary on this agenda item.
Thank you, Member McCary. One correction, 25 years old.
25.
Because tonight is the 25th anniversary celebration.
All right, thanks.
This is, we attempt to spend all improvements on the building out of the 271 fund, which is the, in part funded by the permanent levy for operation of that. But you got to be careful that you don't drain that too far, because the people that work there get paid out of the revenue that comes into that fund. So in this case, we've split it in between the 271 fund and the 273 fund specifically, which we think is prudent. This is through a GSA contract, which is a pre-negotiated program through the Government Service Agency, the federal version of like the State Department of Administrative Services, and the company that we're going to use is Johnson Controls, which is very familiar with this system. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. So it sounds like we've got half that 35,000 coming from the community center's operations, and then the other half from APR income tax. Okay.
273.
Excellent. All right, having heard from the administration, I'll open for public comment. If anyone has any comments on this agenda item, please feel free to approach the podium and share your name and address. Seeing none, I'll close public comment for this agenda item and move to committee members for questions or comments on the topic of this HVAC replacement. Member Wood.
Yeah, related to that, you said Johnson Controls. Do we not need to open up for bids for this? It's a straight and narrow. We can.
Sure, so it's below the $75,000.
It's actually around 77 and some change threshold right now, which is the bidding threshold and the authorization threshold. This is purely an appropriation. Council neither needs to authorize these funds for this expenditure, nor does the city need to bid it. And functionally, as a GSA contract, it's in effect been pre-bid, and that Johnson Controls competes for those GSA contracts to do HVAC system controls upgrades and such.
Great, thank you.
Member Stone, thinking about our commitments to environmental sustainability, can you anticipate any benefits to upgrading this equipment?
I think so. I mean, when we're really talking about it, we're not talking about replacement of the system, but it's the controls. And so if you can imagine the community center, everyone's familiar with it, there's a whole bunch of different zones. And the way that you heat and cool those different zones gets pretty complicated pretty fast based on where thermostats are, and then, who is hot in one area and opens a door, and therefore it lets, the heat go out there that then the boiler tries to make up and heat that area. And so from an efficiency perspective, having better controls and those zones better managed through different thermostats and an upgraded system that is able to be controlled more explicitly, I think really will be more efficient and will use less energy.
Thank you for that important clarification that we're just talking about the controls. Based on that, am I correct in assuming the rest of the larger systems, hardware, different components get replaced at different times as needed?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from committee members? Seeing none, I would alert the clerk that we can expect legislation on this topic for next week's regular session. And that concludes the business for Finance and Personnel Committee this evening. We'll now move on to Planning and Development Committee, which is chaired by Member Swank and joined by Member Wood and Member Thomas. Is that right? And I'll be here too.
And so,
Oh, and Member Spilness. Thank you.
this committee's all in attendance tonight.
All right. I turn things over to Member Swank.
All righty, just one item on the Planning and Development Committee agenda. Unlike 2 weeks ago, we had 9. We've gotten a recommendation, case number 2506 from the Planning Commission on proposed zoning changes along North Lancaster Street, 2nd Street, Columbia Avenue, and Columbus Road. I'm going to turn it over to Director Stone, and before that, Ryan or whoever's back there, if you could put up that, Jason, here we go. This is the area we're talking about. Director Stone, for you got the what we have today on the left, and then the proposal on the right.
So thank you, Member Swank. So speaking on behalf of Chair Kotowski, who's the chair of the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission's intent with updating and making a recommendation for change of zoning is generally twofold, really to bring zoning more in line with what current use is. There's a large portion of that area that either at some point either was being used in a different manner as the way it was zoned when zoning went into effect back in the 1960s, or for whatever reason, due to grandfathering or something else, it's non-compliant with the existing zoning. The second intent of Planning Commission here is just to expand R2 citywide because, and downzone a little bit in order to promote more dense housing. And so you can kind of see the proposed zoning, the existing zoning on the left, the proposed zoning with the recommendation on the right. There were a couple different iterations of public sessions with members of the community to include a session in the general vicinity there at the Children's Museum as a gathering place for that, and folks came in and gave feedback, and then a couple other meetings with members of the neighborhood. Ultimately, the Planning Commission landed on this. Of note, that big green splotch on the right-hand side of the screen is the cemetery, the private cemetery that's up there, currently zoned R1. Nobody's alive in that zone, and so we're proposing that it gets switched to open space rather than residential. And then the orange is R2, and so basically it's a little bit of downzoning on those parcels to allow for duplexes. And then probably most important to the Planning Commission is that area in the center. The area in the center currently, that dark red color, is an R3. If you're familiar with that area, none of those properties, or quite a few of those properties, are not being used as multifamily residential. Instead, they have other uses. The former city fire station is there. The Athens Children's Museum is there. The former Highway Patrol building, long time ago Highway Patrol building, municipal court building is there, which are just simply not R3 uses. And so this is more in line with a B1 and a B2 zoning with the light pink and the dark pink with what is happening there. Finally, that little parcel that I think a lot of people are concerned about, the former Dairy Queen property. Current zoning is B1, and proposed zoning is B1, so it stays the existing zoning. And I think a lot of people are concerned about drive-throughs, and drive-throughs are no longer permitted in B1s after the 2003 legislation change. So now that has not operated as a drive-through for more than a year, then that no longer can be grandfathered. So while it still is a B1, a drive-through is not allowed at that location any longer.
Very good. Acting President Crowell, or Acting Mayor Crowell, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Member Swank. My only question to Mr. Stone is at the last Planning Commission meeting, there was a late change to R2. Does this map that we saw reflect that change?
Correct. Yeah. So the area, all the R2 that you see that's southeast of Lancaster, Columbia, basically the roadway that's in the lower right-hand corner there, everything to the lower right of that, there was actually an R3 in that area, and a B1 with everything in that lower orange portion, and an R3 in the upper orange portion. The late change was that we just basically said change it all to R2. So the R3 is not quite as downzoned. It would be an R2 instead. And then rather than a B1, the Planning Commission just said rather than B1, just make that R2 as well.
Okay, great. Just that for anyone who watched that or was at that meeting, there was neighborhood associations members who were requesting a number of changes, and I think the city administration did a very nice job of meeting with the neighborhood groups and coming to a compromise. I'm not sure everybody got exactly what they're looking for, but that last R2 change motioned by former President Nisley seemed to sort of be the last piece here, but that's what I know about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the public. Again, if you'll just state your name and address and take it away for 3 minutes.
Sure. Name is Michael Rinaldi Eichenberg. I live at 5 Ring Street, which is in the right next to where these proposed changes are. And I mostly want to talk about the old Job and Family Services building, which was originally proposed to be B1, and as part of the last Planning Commission meeting, most of that, it sits on 5 separate parcels, one of which is currently, if I'm understanding correctly, currently zoned B1. I'm sorry, take that back. It's all currently exempt because it was previously county-owned. The new map does not capture all of that building as B1, And I think part of the compromise was to make that R2. I'm wondering if it makes more sense to make that B1 with some stipulations around how that building can be used and what might change around that building. As someone who lives directly next to it, I'm concerned about parking lot going in right behind it. I'm concerned about this instability of the soil. It's a pretty steep hill. And mostly, again, concerned about use behind it. If it does not, if it remains R2, I think the city made a case that it could just become an abandoned building, which also wouldn't be desirable. Does that all make sense? Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions while I'm up here?
We may bring you back.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. Please do.
Can he approach and show
Yes,
the pictures?
please.
Yes, please.
This isn't court.
Oh, I was wondering about that. Michelle Pappy, 240 North Congress, just a little farther away from where Michael lives, but directly impacted by the corridor. If you could put the map up again, please, on Columbia and Lancaster there. This sits on a ridge, any of you who have driven along there. And so below, if you've never seen, which you are seeing pictures right now as a committee of the back of that hill and those buildings there, it's like 3 stories behind what looks like a 1-story building from Columbia and Lancaster. Okay, so obviously we are and have continued to be through all our conversations, and Mr. Stone and Mr. Carl we were working well with the planner and the code director and the committee, and this is a result of many, many conversations. Can I speak?
That was the end of Michael's.
Okay, I can keep talking then? Okay. So, Michael mentioned some of those things, but some other things, we don't want to see an empty building. We don't want the city to see that. But depending on how the city right-of-way, which I don't think Michael mentioned, there is a city right-of-way behind there. I believe there's some infrastructure. Mr. Stone can probably talk about that. Access to the back of that building is very concerning for us. And what would happen with those lower stories? It's currently leased by the Public Defender Office, so pretty much the whole top looks like it's being used as office space currently. So we talked a little bit about the environmental and the nature of the slip proneness of the hills and the drainage and all that, which would come directly down into this R1 neighborhood. Ring Street, Mound Street, Pine Street, North County. It really needs to be taken care of there. Some other questions are, what are the parameters of a B1 zone regarding housing and parking? And easements that people have, all those kinds of things. So there's still, in a very small chunk of that map up there, still some real questions about how we can really improve this for the future and for the use of that building. So that's why we're here again tonight. And that's all I have to say right now.
Thank you.
My name is Joan Kernansky. I live 56 Mound Street. And I will point to that point on the map, because even though it is not exactly in my backyard, I am right here when I go up to my car and look up this way. If anyone thinks about putting any parking back there, which was a discussion that went on, my viewscape it's incredible. It's just that whole hillside looks like it's going to topple at any moment. I've been talking in opposition to this since the very first meeting that was held out on Columbus Road by the city planner and David Riggs. There were approximately 50 people there. My count was 2 of those 50 people thought it was maybe a good idea. 48 people thought it was a really bad idea to do all that rezoning. The city planner told me, because I called her to try to get some focus on what was going on. What was the intent of all this? What was in the viewscape of the city for this area? We need to do something about the old fire station building. We need to try and sell it, and she gave me the whole routine about what had happened with trying to sell it to somebody, and then it wasn't zoned correctly. And having been on the Board of Zoning Appeals for a long time, I understand zoning, and I know that you have to have certain zones match other zones if you want to, they have to be complementary. So if all this is about the fire station, why? Why is the city intent on taking away our R1 neighborhoods? I made a proposal to the Planning Commission and did a map similar to the map that, as a group, a neighborhood group, we decided upon. But could we throw that map back up again? I'm sorry, I don't have a color printer, or I couldn't bring people copies. My recommendation was to allow all of this area to continue as an R1. I realize many of those properties are out of compliance. What I said to David Riggs was, so is Mound Street. Are you going to take my street next to start merging R2s? I realize the city got rid of the R2s when they added all of these, they turned them into R1 neighborhoods to facilitate that kind of situation that the city needed at the time. So that means that a lot of our R1 neighborhoods abut R3, which is really not how code should work. So I understand the need to bring in some more R2 neighborhoods. I recommended we maintain this as an R1 neighborhood, but it took people a lot to get that to happen. Can I have an extra minute?
Yes.
I'll be quick. And this area up here, so this is North Lancaster, and then it goes off. This area over here, which is really duplexes and triplexes plus, could be an R2 to facilitate the need to expand the R2. But could we please maintain our neighborhood? I'm not sure that, I'm not sure what the goal is. I think that's what troubles me the most. Because first, they wanted all of this to be a B1, a business zone, so we could walk around and have businesses. And I said, well, what are the businesses you're talking to? Who's going to go in there? Well, nobody has that plan in mind. So, to me, this whole project has been to facilitate the sale of this property or the leasing of this property. And I recommended that before we make a lot of changes, adding in all these B1s and changing all the R1s to R2s, that we see what happens with this new sidewalk going out Columbus Road. Because, well, as a neighborhood association member on the west side many years ago, it took us 5 years to get a sidewalk from the top of 2nd Street to the Dairy Queen. It used to be a dirt path. So we believe in creating things, pedestrian walkways. So if I'm not mistaken, the city is about to put up a pedestrian walkway all the way along one side, over the west side.
Joan, if we could we stick to this and wrap this up, please?
Okay, so I think we should allow this sidewalk to go on, be constructed, and see how that brings out the need for more businesses in the area. And anyways, I got a lot winded because I didn't write it down. But so I am opposed at this point to what the city's proposing, and I think there should be more discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public this evening? Yes, sir.
Hi, everybody. I'm Noah Klaus, 19 Oak. So not exactly my neighborhood, but I just had some general questions. And I think I'm going to direct them at Planning Commission. So if you're on the Planning Commission, could you raise your hand? Is it
Planning Commission would just be Director Stone.
Director? Okay. In the red, Andy. What's your Andy Stone or?
Do you really want to do questions back and forth between members of the audience? And I mean, I can do it if that's what you want to do, but typically that's not.
Yeah, no, understood.
Planning Commission meetings are a different time.
Right. Yeah, the last one, yeah. Tell you what, go ahead and present your questions, and we can get back with you with the answers.
Cool, okay. And the next Planning Commission meeting is when?
2 weeks from Wednesday.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
Okay. All right, well then you can just butt in if you want to answer any questions. So what is downzoning? What is the purpose of downzoning? What's the purpose of downzoning in this specific instance? And then on that chart, no, that's not so important, and then maybe just one question and answer would be, what's the overall goal of the changes? Give you a little more time.
We can, I'll tell you what, if you would, on the registration sheet there, write down your email address, and we'll make sure we get that to you as soon as we can.
Oh, thank you so much. And is that, this one here? This paper here? Oh,
Yeah.
An email?
Yes, please. Yeah. Just nice and legible, and we'll take care of that.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Members of the committee? Yes.
I just have a couple questions. Mostly probably for Joe or Michelle. Because when we had the map up with and I watched the meeting, so I kind of have an idea as to what the concerns were. But the dark pink is where the fire department is, or the fire building, not over in the B1. So the B2 is where the fire station is. Okay, we were moving over the other direction. It was kind of throwing me off. I think I'm curious because right now, like I'm looking at the land use map for what's currently everything's being used as, and I hear a lot of the concerns, but the map usage right now for the proposed B2 with the little slot for the old JFS building, none of those are, only 2 of those I think, or 3 of those are R1. So it really hasn't been R1 in a long time. I guess so I'm curious how this is much of a change, other than making it more restrictive, because it takes out the exempt municipality and it takes out the R3 and moves it, upgrades really to an R2. Because I guess that's the answer, is downgrading is to make it more restrictive, correct?
Downzoning would make it less restrictive.
Less restrictive,
Yes.
yeah. Those are just, I just wondered, looking at what the land is doing now versus what they're proposing, this to me looks more restrictive. It just allows for duplexes versus all the different things I'm seeing here now.
Do you want me to answer that question?
If you want to share your thoughts on that.
Well, now, at present, it's all an R1.
Well, it's zoned R1, but it's not being used in any of those ways because they're all out of compliance, is what I'm saying.
Well, yes, I'm fully aware they're out of compliance, and I know this is Mound Street. I live in the north side of Mound Street, and it was almost all rentals. My house was a rental. I bought it. It was a rental, and several other properties from Arc up to the end where it hits Pine were rentals. And now we have more than 50% owner occupied. So things do change. And I'm fearful if you take away the R1s, that may not occur. And it's really nice to be in my side of the block, to have half of the neighbors owner-occupied, long-term students, some people that work. It's a nice mix. But if you take away the R1 up there, I don't think you're going to see that kind of revitalization of owner-occupied. And the city has been working, I mean, I have a committee up looking for, to redevelop housing, right, for people that come in the city to work, city employees, and I just think it's crucial to maintain a residential district qualified as an R1, even though it seems to be out of compliance. It is out of compliance. But then a lot of neighborhoods in Athens, I mean, we all live in places, well, not quite everybody, but, so anyways, that it is an R1 now, and a lot of the structures are out of compliance. Some of those places, actually, one was owner-occupied with a rental apartment in the basement. I think there were two. When I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals, we had to do some changes to, and then the owner left, and so then it was a duplex, right? Mm-hmm. So those kind of things occurred, but that can go in reverse also, and which is my concern, that if you take away the R1, we may not be able to see that reverse. We may not be able to have some of the housing structure that we thought we wanted. I have no objection to duplexes. Mm-hmm. Having spent a lot of time up in Cleveland, they have beautiful duplexes, but they started them that way, right? Some of these houses that are split up as duplexes are, you know, they're mismatched in their living conditions, right? Mm-hmm. And they can go back to single family. The possibilities, I mean, in some cases, they just block off a stairwell, right? And then all of a sudden you throw a kitchen in, A, B, C, and D happens, right? Anyway,
that makes sense. I wasn't sure where your thinking was. I understand that, though.
Other members of the committee. Oh, I'm sorry, Member Thompson, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Good.
Other members of the committee.
Yeah, thank you. I feel as though after reading over the minutes and having attended a meeting, a planning commission meeting, and listening to some of the members and the neighbors, I can appreciate your concerns. I feel as though there was a lot of changes made based on the questions and concerns that were expressed. It's not the same as it was originally, and I think that was really trying to listen to the neighbors, which I appreciate. There has been some questions about the goals and the purpose of all this, and I think that the memorandum that we received from the Planning Commission regarding its recommendation spells that out fairly clearly based on what's in the comprehensive plan in a number of different pages and areas. So I think that, in my opinion, I think there's some tweaking that has been, perhaps needs to be done based on a couple of comments, and maybe that needs to be considered. But overall, I feel as though this does fit with our overall comprehensive plan goals in terms of obviously helping with that fire station situation, but also it makes sense down Columbus Road to have businesses, because that's a place that seems logical to have businesses, and providing for duplexes seems reasonable in terms of the housing needs, et cetera. So far, I'm in favor of moving forward with this.
Yes, sir.
Just for those of us that don't speak zoning, to be crystal clear, what does the change from R1 to R2 allow, and what's the change from whatever the bright red is, I think it's B2D maybe, to the B2 and B1? What do those actually mean for regular humans?
Director Stone, would that be something you could answer?
Sure, there's a couple things. So there are some minor variations in bulk controls. That has to do with setbacks and that sort of things for each of the different zones. But the main change the main difference between an R1 and an R2 is that you can have two residences on one property as part of a duplex with an R2. So whereas in an R1, you can't have a duplex. Right now, I think there are 5 duplexes in those areas that are proposed as R2 on the lower right-hand side existing. Maybe a couple more. But that's just looking at the auditor site right now overhead. I don't have it memorized. With regards to a B2, the key thing I think that's important with a B2, we don't have a lot of B2 in the city. We have B2D in the uptown area, and the difference with B2D is you can count the parking garage as your parking for business zoning, business parking. But the big difference with B2 is you can't have first floor residential in a B2. Right now, the main fire station is zoned R3. Multifamily residential B2 would make it for a business zone, but it also prohibits first floor residential. So hopefully that answers your questions. B1, neighborhood business. The intent with that is to be allowed to have businesses, but you can still have first floor residential in a B1.
Good.
One other unrelated question. I mean, so the thing that I've heard just about everybody say, and I guess I don't even know if this is a question, but everyone is in agreement that there's a lot of things that are not currently in compliance in the area, and that's pretty apparent to anybody that's driven through. I guess. Is there any way to put it doesn't seem like there's any way to put the toothpaste back in the tube, even if we wanted to, right? I mean,
you can. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
yeah, no, sure,
once
please.
a property goes unused for a year, it has to revert to its previous use. And so, an example would be if the former Job and Family Services property became vacant and unused and for a year, then it would have to revert back to an R1. Other than the portion, the one part of the building that's zoned B1 right now. So figure that one out. But whereas this happened in a lot of cases in recent memory that I can think about, or in some cases I thought about is Richland Avenue, where there's been some property in the B2 zone that goes unrented. It's a residential on the first floor that goes unrented for a period of time, and then once it goes past 1 year, then you can't have a rental permit for a first floor residential any longer because it's in a B2 zone. Another example that I brought up just momentarily was the Dairy Queen. The Dairy Queen, was operating when it's opened that drive-through. The drive-through was permitted in the particular zone. That subsequently changed in 2003 with a change to the law, and the zoning law, and then it's gone on 2 years now where it hasn't operated at all. So if they were to go back, they couldn't have a traditional drive-through at that location.
Member Thomas.
I have 2 questions, I think. One, does it help, or could we look at this because we've still got, contention or maybe more discussion on the Columbia, North Lancaster side, but in the immediate that we want to get the fire station moving, does it help to fix the zoning on the fire station area that's the B2 and doesn't seem like it really affects a whole lot else? And those B1s, and then the side roads and neighborhood areas have more discussion?
So I can speak from a process perspective. Planning Commission has forwarded a recommendation to City Council. Mm-hmm. Council may do 3 things. It may vote it down, it may accept it, or it may change it. If Council chooses to change it, it has to do so by supermajority. It can vote down or up by a simple majority. Okay. And that's a process, as far as the way that our code works.
So we could go through and strike things and change it if we have a supermajority vote? And would that be helpful in a way to continue to allow discussion, but also get things done that we need to?
It's not speaking on behalf of the Planning Commission's recommendation was what you see in front of you. And so not speaking on behalf of the Planning Commission, just speaking on behalf of the administration, I would like you to get the fire station rezoned. The Planning Commission believes that we need more R2 zoning in the city, hence some of the other changes that were incorporated into this. So, but from the administration's perspective, if you want to change it and then, approve it by supermajority, then, certainly that's the prerogative of council.
Okay.
Member Thomas, you're about 4 steps ahead of me today. Can we have that map, please? From what I've heard in the conversation, there are basically 4 points. The first deals with this part right here. Right now, move over here. Right now, I have to do it on this one. Right now, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Those first 4 are zoned R1, and according to the Google view I saw, and I don't know what the date on it was, there are houses there. Then you get to the 5th one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You get to the 5th one. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one, this one, this one, and that one contain that Jobs and Family Services building. That building is in 2 different zones.
Yeah, right.
So issue number 1 is that mixed-use building or mixed-zone building. Do we get it into 1 zone? This map does not do that. On this map, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's houses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 4 are that building, and the 5th is that building. So we need to deal with that. What do we do with that building? Very much related to that, though, is that building, whether it stays R2, B3, pick a number, pick a letter, what can the back side of it be used for? We get into environmental issues. I went up and met with these folks, and it's slip-prone city. Reminds me of that old Paul Simon song, slip sliding away. It's just a matter of time. There's gravel that comes down off of that hill in the next 2 neighbors' yards. So the question is, environmentally, what can be done, use-wise, what can be done with that building as it affects the environment? The third issue is, right now, this is all R1. And some people would like to keep it that way, except for that building.
But they're not.
And then the biggest issue is, and we have legislation before us right now to allow the Service Safety Director to get bids to lease our fire station. And I talked about money before, and we need to do that. So I agree, and this is what I was going to present, that we carve this out. Can I have the map again, please? When we bring this before council, all of that, the graveyard, everything on that side of North Lancaster, all of this, go ahead and vote and hopefully approve that so we get this fire station taken care of. And then get all of these questions answered specifically about that building and what it could be used for and the environmental impact at another time. In other words, separate the 2. So that I'm in total agreement with what Member Thomas had to say there.
Would the chair be so kind as to attempt to summarize some of that for those who were not able to see what you're pointing to? If we could have the image one more time on the screen. I know that's quite a tall order, but Member Swank, if you could try to verbally describe your suggestion for the record.
So if you're at the corner of 2nd Street, if you're there at the triangle, 2nd Street, North Lancaster, and Columbus Road, and you proceed up North Lancaster to where it turns into Columbia, everything to the north and west of that, we would consider as a council. All the stuff proposed to the south and east of that, we would get these questions answered. Because again, I got an email from Megan, the planner, the other day, and she is insistent upon getting the fire station part of this thing done by the end of the year. And I would agree with that. But I think there are so many other questions raised today and raised from visits to the site about that building and what it could potentially be used for and the effect of those uses on the environment and the neighbors in that area that I don't think we get that answered in time to get this through council to get the fire station side taken care of so Director Stone can lease the property. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate what you're saying, and frankly, I pretty much agree with you. I think I think there's a lot of people. Can I just see a show of hands? Would you like that if we did that out there? Okay, that would be, so the rest of it you're cool with, you're just not cool with that part? And I can get that. I do have to say that my son lived in one of those houses right in that section. It was, I don't know how it's still standing. I mean, seriously. Honestly, I don't know how it ever passed code, because it was really, honestly, I mean, it was on this dangerous little pole, long story. Anyway, but those are a lot of rentals along there, so they're already out of compliance. But I think it's fine to wait for that, get it all done, move it forward. I think we can get a supermajority on that and, take it away, so.
So with that, any other members of the Planning and Development Committee? With that, Mr. McCary, that concludes it, and we will bring this forth at the next business meeting on the 20th.
Thank you for that clarification, and that does conclude Planning and Development. And if we could all return to the dais for the Committee of the Whole, we will have just one agenda item for the Committee of the Whole this evening. Our last discussion item for the evening is the liquor permit request for 74 North Court Street. And this is a D2 and D2X permit type that authorizes the sale of wine, mixed beverages, and beer for on-premises consumption or in sealed containers for carryout until 1 a.m. This is a routine liquor permit transfer request from Montel LLC to Star Chamber LLC. The law director and member Swank have indicated that they've reviewed this and don't anticipate that a hearing would be necessary. And I will pass things on to the administration for comment at this time. Seeing no comment or questions from the administration, moving on to the public. Anyone have questions or comments at this time? If so, please approach the podium and just share your name and address, and if you're representing yourself or an organization.
Mary Abel Strathmore, we just have a question. Could you tell us the name of this business, please, so that we and the public know who we're talking about? Thank you.
Yes, Member Swank, do you want to provide that clarification?
Yeah, it's called Star Chamber, and you probably want to know why that I thought was a segue, if I may, as to why I didn't think there was a hearing necessary on this. Hot Box Chicken is on Court Street. The alley next to it is Fern. If you make a right off of Court Street down Fern, this is the area of that building beneath Hot Box Chicken. And what it basically is a video and electronic game, a video and pinball arcade. If any of you ever been to Asheville, North Carolina, there's one right there by the Grove Arcade. It's called the Asheville Pinball Museum. And a former middle school math teacher opened this, and it became so successful he has quit teaching. And on Saturdays and Sundays, people stand in line for hours to get into this place. He has his pinball machines from 1946 to the present lined up in chronological order. At this particular place, and I visited, you can pay $7, you can play for an hour, you're not pumping quarters into a pinball machine or Space Invaders or Pac-Man or whatever. I've talked to several people who have been there with their children, because I know there was concern, beer and wine in there. And I know my 5th grade granddaughter wants to go up there and spend a week. She's a pinball fanatic. It's a family-oriented business, but it does have alcohol and beer and wine, as does the one in Asheville, North Carolina, and it has proved to be very, very successful. And I'm hoping this will be the same and give some of our people something to do other than, hang out on the courthouse steps or whatever.
Thank you for that response to the public inquiry, Member Swank. Do we have any other questions or comments from members of the public? All right, let's take things back to the Committee of the Whole. Do we have comments or questions from other committee members?
I'm glad you clarified that, because I was trying to figure out where the heck this place was.
Agreed.
It's all AI.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from members of the Committee of the Whole? Yes, Member Cloudfelder.
Along the same line of questioning that Mary began, what business is giving up their liquor permit?
That's a great question. Do we have that information at this time?
All I know that Mr. Motto held the liquor permit, and sometimes those are held for a while.
I'm guessing the carryout that was there maybe had one they could transfer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
thank
believe
you.
we can get official confirmation on that before this would come to the,
This news has to go back in on the 16th, 2 days.
oh, okay. So
So you
then
either
we will,
object or you do not.
yeah, we will, anyone have any concerns with moving forward?
No.
Okay, great. Well then, any other questions or comments from members of the committee? If not, we'll move this forward, and that will conclude our committee business for the evening, and we'll be adjourned officially at 8:21 p.m. Thank you, everyone.